What if I told you there's a place on Earth where the rocks don't just stand still? They dance, they whisper, and they glow with colors that shouldn't exist in stone. Picture this. You're standing on the edge of an amphitheater so vast it feels like another planet. The air is cold and thin. The sky is still dark, but a soft blue light is beginning to bleed along the horizon. And below you, an army of silent stone figures. Some are tall and slender, like chess pieces left by giants. Others are twisted, crumbling, almost human in their strange posture. This is Bryce Canyon at dawn, and for a few precious minutes each day, this stone forest comes to life. Most people see rocks as, well, just rocks. Solid, unchanging. But here, in this high desert sanctuary, the stones breathe. They change color with the light. They tell a story 60 million years in the making. And if you know how to listen, they'll tell you how they were born, and why they're slowly fading away. Let's step into that morning light and uncover the secret life of the Hoodoos. For centuries, the Paiute people who lived near these spires had a name for them. Ankakuwasowitz, which means red-painted faces. They believed these weren't just rocks, but legend people turned to stone by the trickster coyote as punishment for their misdeeds. And when you stand among them as the sun rises, it's not hard to see why. The Hoodoos have presence, personality. They feel like frozen souls caught mid-stride. But the real story of the Hoodoos isn't written in myth. It's written in water, wind, and time. About 60 million years ago, this part of Utah was covered by a vast lake. Over millennia, layer upon layer of sediment settled at the bottom: silt, clay, limestone. When the lake eventually dried up, it left behind the Clarin Formation. A soft, colorful layer cake of rock that would one day become the canvas for Bryce Canyon. Then, the land began to rise. The Colorado Plateau lifted this sedimentary layer high into the sky, over 8,000 feet above sea level. And that's when the real sculpting began, because at this elevation, something unusual happens. Bryce Canyon doesn't just get rain, it gets freeze-thaw cycles, over 200 of them per year. And that simple, repeating process is what carves the Hoodoos. Here's how it works. During the day, snowmelt and rainwater seep into the cracks of the plateau. At night, when temperatures drop below freezing, that water turns to ice. And when water freezes, it expands by nearly 10%. That expansion acts like a wedge, prying the rock apart bit by bit. It's a slow, relentless force. A single crack can become a fissure can become a window. And a window can become an arch, which eventually collapses, leaving a pillar behind. That pillar is the beginning of a hoodoo. But not all hoodoos are created equal. Their shape depends on the rock layers they're made of. Hoodoos have a hard, protective caprock, usually a type of limestone called dolomite, that sits on top of softer, more easily eroded mudstone. The caprock acts like an umbrella, shielding the softer rock beneath from the rain. But along the sides, where there's no protection, erosion eats away at the pillar, giving it that distinctive, irregular shape. Some hoodoos wear their caprocks like fancy hats. Others have lost them entirely, and without that protection, they're crumbling fast now, back to that dawn light. Because this is where the magic happens. Bryce Canyon faces east, which means it's one of the few places on Earth perfectly positioned to catch the first rays of the sun. And the minerals in the rock, iron oxides and manganese, react to that light in a way that's almost alchemical. In the soft, pre-dawn blue, the hoodoos look cold, gray, almost ghostly. But then the first sliver of sun touches the highest spire, and suddenly that gray ignites into a soft, glowing pink. As the sun climbs, the light sweeps down the amphitheater, and the colors shift minute by minute. Pink deepens to orange. Orange flares into red. Streaks of yellow and white emerge from the shadows. For about an hour, the canyon isn't just colorful, it's luminous. It feels like the stones are lit from within. This daily transformation isn't just beautiful, it's a display of the Hoodoos' fragile nature. Because the same forces that paint them with light are also slowly destroying them, geologists estimate that the Hoodoos erode at a rate of about 2 to 4 feet every 100 years. That might not sound like much, but in geological time, it's a flash. The Hoodoos you see today won't be here in 1,000 years. Some of the most famous spires, like the one known as Thor's hammer, are already thinning at the neck. One strong freeze-thaw cycle could be enough to topple them, and that's the haunting truth of Bryce Canyon. You are witnessing a temporary art exhibit, a gallery of sculptures that are here for only a moment, but in that moment, they teach us something profound about time, beauty, and impermanence. These stones remind us that even the most solid, permanent-looking things are in motion. They're changing, evolving, returning to the earth. And maybe that's why people feel such a deep, quiet connection here at dawn, because in the face of such ancient, fleeting beauty, we're reminded of our own place in the story. The Paiute were right, in a way. These aren't just rocks, they're storytellers. And every sunrise they tell the same story, of birth, life, and gentle decay, written in stone, but felt in the soul. Have you ever witnessed a landscape that felt alive at a certain time of day? Share your story in the comments, and if you want to explore more of Earth's hidden wonders, subscribe to Wonder Explorer.